So,
Meeting is hereby called to order. Let's start with the flag salute. I pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
I reckon. Are we still starting this, right?
Yes.
Yeah. Okay, so first up on our agenda, we have a reminder about the statement of economic interest. The deadline is April 15th.
Tomorrow. Done.
Done.
Doing.
I'll do it first thing. Okay.
All right, well, good.
Next up, we have a board and budget vacancy.
So we did have one applicant that wants to be on our budget committee. The only thing is she has not lived in our district for a year, and we kind of usually require that. So I'm just asking the board to maybe waive that. She's been in our district for 4 months, but she's very interested in serving this position. We haven't had it filled in 2 years, so I think she would be good. I had Lisa review her information, and so we would like to see her be on our budget committee. So that is something that you would have to appoint her to, if that would be okay.
Are there any other vacancies? Just one vacancy?
No, so the other, there will be, the other ones will come up in June. We have 2 people that will be going out, 2 or 3.
After this budget?
After this budget cycle, yeah, so then we're gonna be looking, and it's really a hard thing to fill. And since it's not an elected position, it's a volunteer position, I am comfortable with, deciding that we just go ahead and have somebody that hasn't been in our district for, they do meet the other criteria, registered voter and living in our district.
I move that we appoint Leanne Rankin to position number 5 of the Willamina Budget Committee, effective today through June 30th, 2028.
I'll second.
All those in favor of appointing Haley Rankin to position number 5 on the budget committee? Signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion is passed. Okay. Was that it for updates? Okay.
Oh, and then the only other thing was the superintendent evaluation. Kind of disregard that paragraph because I kind of changed it. I actually brought the evaluation with me. I'll give it to you at the end of the meeting. And the deadline I need to get it back is by the 25th. I will make it available by a Google document too. So if you prefer that, I've heard from one of you that you prefer to do it that way, that I will get that emailed to you tomorrow morning. But otherwise it'll be in a paper application that I will need to get back the 25th for our next meeting in an executive session.
I'll take the Google Doc to do that.
Yeah, okay.
Okay, next up we have a presentation.
Sure. I would like to introduce David McKay and his crew, Paul and Amelia Chamberlain, and saw an email today.
Starwold.
Starla, yes. I'm learning, and I like her because she's from Colorado.
Yeah.
Go ahead. The floor is yours.
Paul Chamberlain. I will be a program manager for the upcoming bond program. My role is to oversee and manage the team for the completion of the bond program. So I'll be working with Amelia. She'll be the on-site day-to-day project manager, working with the design team, the general contractor. And this is David McKay. He is principal in charge. He's my boss. We do have an action item today to present to you. But first off, I wanted to talk about what we've done to date and what we are doing over the next month in terms of procurement and getting things ready for this bond program. So Amelia's going to run us through that.
I like that Paul said he wanted to talk about it. And then he's gonna have
We
to
wanted
talk
to
about
talk
it.
about it.
So far we've gone out to for proposals for design services. So we're in the middle of that right now. Design proposals are due back from architects at the end of this month. We sent out topographical survey RFP today. We're working on getting a geotech survey out as well as hazardous materials surveys out so we can get all those consultants on board at the same time as the design team, so that once we start design, they'll have all that information ready to include in the design. And then assuming we go through the CMGC findings tonight and approve that, then we'll go out for a CMGC also at the end of this month. Proposals for that will be due at the end of May for the general contractor to get them on board. Design will go through the end of this year with the intent of getting through bidding in the early 2026 and then start construction on most of the work starting summer of 2026.
So when you say the end of the year, you're talking December.
2025, yes.
You say end of the year to a school person.
Not school in the year.
Yeah, we anticipate the design process to take the remainder of this year and also probably the first month or two of next year, with early bidding around February, March of 2026, yeah.
And in that, a lot of it is exploration of systems that are current, what do we need to think about as we add on or the directions that we're going, which, what does CMGC stand for?
Sure.
For our viewers at home?
Yeah, well, we can segue right into that,
Okay.
right? Yeah.
Right. Do you prefer standing or sitting?
Whatever.
No preference? If I sit, is that all right?
Yeah.
All right, so CMGC stands for Construction Manager General Contractor. And let me just kind of step back. The public bidding statutes only recognize one, what we call project delivery method, or one contracting method with a contractor. And that's design, bid, build. So you design it 100%, you put it out to bid, and you award to the low responsible bidder. That is the acceptable, according to public bidding statute, contracting method with a contractor. If you deviate from that in any way, you have to go through this alternative contracting method that I'm bringing to you today. Were there any board members when we did the CTE building? Any of you were on this board way back then?
What year was that?
It was 2014.
13?
That's like 13, 14.
13, 14, yeah. I'm asking because at that time I brought an alternative contracting method, which was design build to you. And so I was just trying to get a point of reference. So I want to kind of walk through some things and then be able to answer all your questions. So because CMGC is an alternative contracting method, we have to go through a process where we provide public notice in a trade paper of statewide distribution, and you should have a copy of it that we did. And that was published on March 28th. And so it's 14 days prior to this meeting in a trade paper statewide distribution, which is the Daily Journal of Commerce. So we posted the public notice to let the public know that you, sitting as the contract review board, would review these findings and make a determination whether or not to accept the recommendation to use I hope I can use the CMGC acronym from now on, contracting method to deliver your projects. And so with that, what is the CMGC? There's a document that looks like this. It's just kind of a background document that I gave you to familiarize yourself with it. The value of the CMGC is that they're hired very early in the design process. They integrate in with the design team, with the project team, which is the design professionals, the school district, HMK, and them. And what they do is they bring their expertise as constructors to help us make the best decisions on how to design and make the modernization upgrades to your buildings as you've told your community you're going to do, okay? When we're working in existing facilities, we're going to have phased construction. We're going to be working around students and staff. We're modernizing old buildings. they bring tremendous value to us. And they bring it through helping us with destructive investigation, with going into the interstitial spaces and doing site observations and trying to really understand how this building's constructed. There will probably be areas that we'll ask them to open up walls so we can see what the structure is and not just trust the as-built drawings. And so they bring expertise that way. They also bring expertise to help us make sure we're making the best choices in the way we're going to reconstruct the building. I'll give you an example. We were doing a seismic project about a year ago, and the engineer specified this special anchor that was like $12.50 each, and there was like 10,000 of them. And the contractor looked at that and said, if you use this type of anchoring process, it's $1.50. And so, you know, we save significant money. So they're able to help us with those types of evaluations. Additionally, they'll be responsible for doing a cost estimate at the end of each design phase. And that's really important because we need to make sure at the end of each of those 3 design phases that we're aligning your scope with your budget. And we do that through a cost estimate so that we make sure that when we get to bid day, as they just talked about in February of 2026, we actually have the money to bid to award the contract for the project that you've committed to your community to do. So they help us with that. They help us with value engineering. Value engineering is looking at alternative ways, to that example I just gave you about that seismic, alternative ways to do the same thing, reach the same outcome, but do it for either more cost effective or maybe it's a schedule. They'll help us with phasing and trying to develop a phasing plan that'll allow us to work in an occupied school. So they bring all that expertise to us. And that's why we recommend that you use that contracting method. I know that originally that you had discussed doing it, you had seen the value originally with it. And so what we've done is we have drafted these findings of fact for this alternative contracting method. And it's before you tonight to take action to accept the alternative contracting method. I'm not going to go through it all. I'm sure you've had time to look at it. Just for the sake of time, if it's all right, can I just open it up to questions, and I can just take time to try to answer any questions you might have about the process or about the findings, and instead of just kind of walking through it step by step. I do say this has been reviewed by legal counsel. So we drafted it. We do a lot of the heavy lifting for you so that you're not paying attorneys the big dollars that you pay them, and then they do a quick review and make sure that to confirm to the district that it aligns with public bidding statutes, and you are in what I like to call safe harbor if you were to go and adopt this. So with that, open it up to questions.
I got one.
Yeah.
So, say you have to go into a wall, and there's several walls in this building, but you have to go into a wall and you have to figure out what it's constructed by, from. Is the school gonna be billed for the repair if there's no repairs needed? You know what I mean? I mean, they put a hole in the wall, is that part of the process that you guys take care of? Or is that gonna be like an add-on on each one that they have to do?
So we would only be opening up walls where we're going to have active construction. Okay, so we're not going to go on a fishing expedition. So the architects have said, you know, let's just say we're doing this room here, okay? And they said that wall behind us, the as-built drawings say it's a structural bearing wall. We need to see where the columns are to make sure that it's sized appropriately to carry the load. Because we want to take the wall out and we'd like to put a header in and open the whole area up to kind of have a more open space, okay? So they would be opening up that to see what the structure is. That would be part of the active construction. We would put it back to, we would covered up to safe it off from students getting into it. But that would then become part of the overall. So it's not like we're gonna go through and just start cutting holes in areas that we're not gonna do construction. And so yes, that is will be part of the scope to put the overall back together. But I wouldn't consider it, can I call you David?
Yeah.
I wouldn't consider it an additional cost. It would be part of the overall project that would be there regardless.
Okay, that's what I'm basically concerned about, because I know I used to do construction, and you get into construction and something's gotta change, well, then you got a change order, and it's gonna add this much more money to the project.
Right.
And as long as it's part of the process, I guess that would be fine.
Right. David, I would say to you is that one of the things this does for us is it helps minimize change orders. Because the architects are relying on as-built drawings, and if you've been in construction, you understand they're not always accurate.
Yeah, right.
And so this helps us kind of remove those things that would be then what we'd call an unforeseen condition. You open up a wall and there's something in there you never anticipated, right? You thought there was structure, but there is no structure. Now you have an unforeseen condition that causes a change order. And change orders are always more expensive than if you bid the work initially. And so what we're trying to do is try to minimize that to the greatest extent possible.
Thank you.
Yeah. Any other questions from anyone?
I didn't notice if it's in here or not, but we kind of selected you based on your location and hoping for more local subcontractors.
Yes.
And my son warned me, he went through construction and managed, he said a lot of it depends on if you're getting subs out of Portland, you're gonna pay with the prevailing wage. You're gonna pay more for travel and all of that, so.
So we're gonna pay prevailing wage regardless.
Absolutely.
We will actively recruit local contractors. And one of the things we need you to do for us is define what local is. So like Amity defined it as
30 miles.
a 30-mile radius. So when the CMGC was selected, we asked them to actively recruit contractors within that 30-mile radius. What percentage are we, do you know?
Ooh.
I'd always ask the tough questions.
Geez, I wouldn't want to say it off the cuff, I'd be wrong, but it's a good percentage.
You talked to Logan.
Yeah.
Yeah, you know, and
40%.
and one of the, yeah, or more,
It is a good healthy number for sure.
Yeah, and we're further out.
right?
That was my real concern was, you know, we're not
But
Dayton or Amity,
Right.
or even Albany.
we'd certainly be looking for your input on, you know, what defining that radius of what you would like us to pursue.
Right.
You know.
Yeah, and then we'll actively pursue that. The unfortunate thing is that we can't give points or, you know, any preferential in that subcontractor bidding, but what we can do is we can actively pursue it. If you know people who are interested, if you personally know contractors who are interested, we can send advance courtesy notices when we go to bid the actual project and invite them to participate. And so we can do things like that. We can actively recruit through social media, which we have a huge presence in following, and just do those types of things. We need your help. You know, give us names of people you'd like to see us recruit. We'll do all of that because we know how important it is to keep money local as much as possible.
Delia, how many local, we had at least one local contractor in Milwaukee last Friday.
Yeah, there was one, and they will be back for the CMGC walkthrough as well. Most of the people that came for the architect, it was probably split between Portland and Salem.
Yeah, we had about two to three architectural firms out of Salem who attended, and then a sizable number from Portland. So, a good range. Hopefully, a good range of proposals for you to select from. This is architectural proposals. We do know of 3 general contractors who are interested. Girding builders, a local out of Corvallis, Triplet Wellman out of
Woodburn.
Struggling tonight. And there was another one, a local who came on Friday.
Skolton.
Skolton Construction.
I was in Amity when Triple Weldon did the older building. now,
2002.
shops and, yeah,
Yeah, I was there too.
so,
Were you in the district?
Yeah.
With Reg,
ag teacher.
ag teacher with Reg?
Reg
Yeah.
was one of my students, yeah.
He was one of your students?
He says that all the time.
Yeah, it's a small world.
Other questions? Couple of comments from my end. In my office, where it is now, I have a Gantt chart, so if you're really interested in kind of the process, we are on a steep curve right now. They're doing a lot of things. Probably in the month and a half that we've been engaged, I've seen my life change of not going to prison for misstepping 4 times. So I appreciate that, learning new systems in a different state. But, Oregon is a high rules kind of place, and, lots of rules, lots of regulations, and these guys have been great guidance, and, have really expedited to get us back to kind of where we needed to be by the end of the school year. We'll be back on the track that I was hoping to be on, so.
26 seems like a long ways away, but it's really not.
We're there, man.
In the last 5 years, I've done both processes, and what you're recommending is far more easier and lot less change orders. We just finished a 26,000 square foot building out at the tribe with this model, and it went much smoother than the building we did a few years ago that was the other
Okay.
method. So just highly recommend that based on some experience over the last. We weren't remodeled, they were new separate buildings, so it's a little different. But if you cared to know, that was my 2 cents, that it went much smoother with the second building.
Any other questions or comments before we make a motion? No? Okay. Then I move to adopt resolution 2425 HMK-01 to approve the use of the CMGC method for the bond project.
Second.
All those in favor of adopting the resolution to approve the use of the CMCG method for the bond project signify by saying aye. Aye. All those opposed? Motion is passed. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Appreciate it.
Can I just stay for the whole meeting?
No, is that all right?
Yeah.
Right? You're not gonna hold it against me? All right. Thank you, guys.
Yeah,
Thank you.
Thank you.
thank you.
Jamie, it's gonna be fun working with you.
It was good to see you.
Okay, next up, we have our consent agenda.
Yeah. I move to approve the consent agenda as presented.
Second.
All those in favor of approving the consent agenda as presented signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion is passed. Okay, next up, our superintendent's report.
You bet. Happening right now as we are sitting here, our own Jerry Buzinski is being honored as the AD at the AD Spring Conference as the 3A Athletic Director of the Year. I just learned of this yesterday. I got this random email from the Corbett AD, and she's like, "I need some comments." I go, "I got them." So, but what a great honor for a guy who has donated his life, dedicated his life, and donated. But I think it's going to feel really good, and it'll be fun to see him walk through the door when he gets back, and that's quite a legacy. Not only it's a legacy here, but when you talk about your athletic director and everybody knows him across the state, that's quite the legacy for sure. So we've got the construction stuff. We just talked about the HMK. Our district office update, we did some more testing over there. We have a plan moving forward. Our second test was really centered around air quality and different things like that. So we're gonna do some exploratory stuff. Craig and I have come up with a plan. We'll be sharing that with staff tomorrow, the details of that. But I think it'll be significantly less than what we had initially thought. our goal is to get that kind of squared away and get us back over to our home, hopefully by the end of the school year, early June. But we think we're in a better spot than what we thought initially. So, staff health and wellness is a huge concern, and we think we have a mitigation plan for that, and we'll continue to move on that. Staff recognition, we're instituting a little bit of a staff recognition this year. I think I included those dates for you. That'll be out of the fort in the back patio area, kind of the last day. We're gonna recognize some staff, and they're in the process now of nominating classified and certified. So it's an all district kind of gathering, which will be kind of fun. You all are welcome to come. If there's gonna be more than 3 of you, let April know so we can post it, just so we can cover our ducks. Kindergarten screening is May 7th. Had a meeting with Dr. Jessica Howard, the president of Chemeketa, I guess it was 10 days ago. And she's like, I want more of your kids. I said, I'd love to give you more of our kids. She goes, how do we do that? And so one of the things that, super lady, is down to earth, like do whatever she can for our kids in Willamina. And so every one of our graduating seniors is getting a hand-signed letter of acceptance to Chemeketa, even though they can do it. One of the things I shared with her is sometimes our kids don't see themselves actually there. And how do we make that more welcoming? So she hand-signed. I picked them up Friday on my way back. We're in the process of, we'll distribute those between now and the end of the year. But she is really dialed up for working with Willamina on lots of projects. This just happens to be our first one, but I thought it was super encouraging that, she was willing to take that on and personally sign everyone and address it. And it's a cool opportunity. So I can say with a straight face that every kid that graduates this year has a post-secondary opportunity. I've never been able to say that before. Congratulations. And that's kind of, because a lot of things happen. You'll see in my column this week in the bulletin, I kind of highlighted it, because I think Chemeketa is a great community asset. It's a great value. Their robotics programs, she can't keep the program open because Intel and these folks are poaching those kids out before they ever get through their first year. So it is a heck of a program over there in Salem. But I think that, if kids aren't sure what they want to do, it's a great opportunity because a lot of it's free, a lot of it's paid for. Angela and I are working on some different things in concert with the tribe around some things for the next year or two. We're also working with Angela on our integrated grant with our tribal consult. We have some things coming that'll be in our next agenda. We just didn't get to it this round on surplus of property. TJ's kids built a heck of a trailer, and that seems to be our theme. We got lots of trailers, so we're gonna put that one on the market and see if we can make some money on it to put back in that program. We're really trying to push production and manufacturing. We've got a new tool out there. I think we have a fire pit competition going. Kids are getting pretty creative. I think I commissioned a wine glass one that go in the garden. It's gonna be pretty cool. You might need one for your place.
Maybe.
It's pretty slick.
It's adjustable.
But they have different kinds that can knock down and you can pack them for your camper. So kids have been prototyping those with just different stuff. But we've got to get to a point where we're not just stockpiling stuff, that we're actually moving some of that stuff. And one of the things I hope to evolve to is more of an entrepreneurial kind of front. So we have the marketing side, the front facing stuff. Probably have Miss Isla come up and be a guest speaker for that. She can sell anything. We have our secondary tap visit coming. Is that tomorrow?
Elementary is tomorrow.
Elementary is tomorrow. And then secondary is later on. We met with our WSD, which is our regional group, around our services for next year. One of the things Lisa and I are really looking at with Mike Hughes is how much we're paying for our special education. We have a lot of high-cost kids, and we're paying a lot of money for those kids, which is the right thing to do. We're looking at, can we create some efficiencies with some different partners, other districts, to kind of offset some of that, where we might share some programs. Instead of busing things all the way to McMinnville, do we do something between here in Amity or here in Sheridan? I think that's a huge concern of mine as we're working through that. And we honestly lack programming for some of our students. It's just not available in our region, which is a sad thing. Softball's doing really well. I think they just won again tonight.
18-2, Stadium Christian.
They were ranked number 1, but we took a little bit of a dive, but now we're working our way back, which is, I told them there's only one time it matters to be number 1, and that's at the very end. Track's doing a lot of great things. We have, I think we hosted one track meet, and we'll host another one coming up. And if you are going to be at graduation, we would love that. B, we just need to get with Chris and Jamie so that we make sure we have seating for you down on the field. You're welcome to come down and shake hands and wish them well. That process.
Is there gonna be a kids track meet like there was in the past? Does anyone know?
Marisa Anderson is working on that.
Oh, okay. Sometime in,
Honestly,
you don't know?
in the future.
April or May. I'm just kidding. That's all we have left.
Before graduation, let's say May,
Okay.
but yes, there will be one.
You know, we talked a little bit about the integrated grant. That's a huge lift because that's for the biennium. That'll get submitted this week for the final. We wrapped up our ESSER 3 money, which is clear money that was kind of held out over COVID. And so I also attend those COSA weekly briefings, which keep things interesting in our lives. Legislative issues, I continue to monitor all the things from the state level and the federal level and how they're in conflict and then what's moving on. And I don't get too excited till it's time to get excited. It's kind of my motto. So I let things play out. And, right now we're in a good spot as a district. Brent Morell and I attended the PACE conference, and cybersecurity is like the #1 deal right now. It's crazy that the way people are getting hung up, particularly school districts. And a good portion of our payments for liability insurance go to cybersecurity double check. So Richard's been working hard. He's probably working on it back there while he's listening, but a lot of two-factor
Authentication.
No,
Authentication.
you mean what I know. Work on that word then. You know, but really cautioning staff to be diligent around phishing and smishing, and I learned there's like a lot of ishings. It's not just phishing anymore. There's actually smishing. There's like 6 of them that all have to do with people playing the game, trying to get you to give some information. So, which is a concern for staff, but it's certainly also a concern for our students in that as well. Concession stand is complete. We opened the doors on those restrooms, I think, this week, or last week. Yeah.
They were
no-
locked tonight. Concession bathroom,
Were they locked?
locked.
Okay.
I checked, because we had games going on, I thought, people would
We
probably
have
rather use those than the porta potty. They were
But we have
locked.
backup porta potties out there for a minute.
Yeah.
So we'll get more inspections on that for the health department, then we'll move our concession stands stuff up the hill. We talked earlier in the exec session, gearing up for certified negotiations for a session tomorrow. We're working with the ESD has a data suite, which is kind of a great way for us to data warehouse all of our information achievement-wise, so we can start to look at trend data over time around achievement. It also then can do, we're learning a lot of what it can do. You know, it's kind of like, you know, at the end of the day, I'd like to know if 3rd grade reading scores affects my ability to buy a new lawnmower, you know, that kind of Rubik's Cube you know, what's the trade-off kind of vibe. But it gets pretty granular in that. And then we're already planning August trainings. We met a leadership team today and we talked about what new teachers to know before they have to sit down at the table with their colleagues, how we support new staff to the district, what do existing staff want, how do we differentiate for that so it's not death by PD in August, you know, we want it to be meaningful and action-packed for them, so we're trying to do that before we leave in June. Before principals leave in June, we have all that kind of lined up. A lot of themes around AI and instruction, a lot of themes around going back and kind of polishing up our math training. We implemented our math curriculum late in August. We was scrambled, and we didn't get a lot of training with that, so we'll go back now that we've lived it a year and clean that up if we need to. We had a whole list of things, I think 10 or 12, Sarah? Ish, 10 or 12 topics that we threw out there in the PD world.
Yep.
Questions on any of that? All right.
Math curriculum, is that part of the new, like I've heard multiple kids are struggling, they have to do
In math?
online.
So we have a supplemental piece, IXL, which is like.
IXL, that was it. And I guess it's pretty challenging even for some of the better kids.
Well, it goes all the way up through calculus, right?
Are we scoring on that or is it just?
Well, it's computer adaptive, so it adjusts according to what a kid gives us. So it'll kind of pinpoint a kiddo.
It'll give you recommended skills for that student, but a teacher can also assign lessons that are in line with what they're teaching. So like it's like a supplementary lesson that would give them another look at the same concept that they're doing in class.
This is probably one for high school, but you're working on a new schedule. And Karen, when she was president, we talked about the online sign language and the online Spanish, and I don't think it went anywhere. Have we had any kind of conversation with Sheridan to see what their Spanish instruction might be, and if we could co-work Spanish from Sheridan to here? I know that this would be the time that you're working on schedules maybe, so I'm just pitching it out there.
No, we have not. We've not met with, we have not talked to them about what
Is
they're
that something that would be a possibility, or?
potentially.
You know, we share staff across
It's a challenge, I know.
schools in a district. That drives your whole master schedule, so,
Yeah,
but
well, I know they're working on all that right now, so that's why I'm gonna pitch it out there again, because the
Would be
kids
nice
that
for
are
the
doing,
students, that's for sure.
what's
It
that?
would be nice for the students if they could have an actual teacher,
Right,
in-person teacher for Spanish.
I know a lot of kids that would definitely appreciate that
Yeah.
as a student.
that plugs into your computer as well.
Same right here.
and we heard that from Mr. Nelson when he was the student rep, that he commented several years, that it still is just not taking traction.
You know, I guess the board can certainly direct me to explore foreign language.
We're directing now.
He's got a young one coming up too. Yes,
I don't know what we
please.
need to do with it.
Well, I mean, it's a budget consideration.
We've
I mean, it would
talked
be
about
adding a
this
full-time.
for 3 years now. Nothing
Or
goes
halftime.
anywhere.
If we could come up with an amenable agreement with the Spanish person. Someone, rumor control only, that Sheridan's Spanish person is retiring. I have no knowledge, yes or no, but that's
So maybe what I'll do is I'll call Dory up there and just say, what's your story?
Dory, what's your story?
story. I like that.
I almost said it, but I didn't.
Sure.
You know, and just see what our options are. You know, it'd be great if
It's worth checking out, is all I'm saying.
maybe the full-time lady there, or person that's retiring wants to do halftime. And we just pick her
Absolutely.
up halftime and then you plug her into the schedule.
And again, I don't even know that, I think
Yeah.
somebody said potentially.
Yeah, it just gets tough because of our late start Monday.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's like, so Mondays would have to be weird.
They have a 4-day week.
And
They're on a 4-day week.
They are.
4-day week, yeah.
That was a temporary thing for 1 year, I was told by our former superintendent, but I'm thinking they're liking it, so. Probably not going back to 5, but who knows?
Okay, all right, next up we have our principal's report.
What do I do?
So while she's getting going, I will give you an actual cost of what I think that might happen between staff curriculum for a half-time or full-time.
Yeah, if you can find somebody that can do Spanish and sign language, wow.
Well, I mean, if we did Spanish, we could roll it into, we could use it a couple different ways. We could use it for our second language students, doing that component. I mean, there's some things we can
Middle school, too.
redirect. Yeah, you could go to the middle school. I mean, there's no problem kind of filling in, you know.
Sorry, but
Okay, so I'm gonna talk just a little bit briefly about the high school tonight, and I know you got this in advance, but we have been using IXL at the high school to give us some interim data, formative data about English and math. Unfortunately, there's no English language arts in your packet. I talked to Mike about it because it was very wonky, and I went back and looked and I dug deep into it, and it was right about the students have these windows where they take these benchmark tests. There's a beginning of the year and a middle of the year and an end of the year. And during the middle of the year was when we were making some big time adjustments with people teaching different classes. And I just don't think that got the attention that it needed to take the actual benchmark test. So the data feels really skewed and wonky to me. So I've just told them I'm not gonna share it because I don't think it's accurate, but
We'll have it at the end.
yeah, we'll have the end of the year. But we did do the math, and all across the 9 through 12, we had growth over in math. And so I do think we're seeing considerable growth, and this is an average growth, but we are seeing considerable growth amongst our students using IXL, and even at the 12th grade level especially. I just think that students are getting some targeted lessons and targeted skill practice in areas where they may have some holes. So that was really positive. Our chronic absenteeism, we're just continuing to strive to beat the attendance goal of 90%. And then this is our March numbers. Our attendance has been fairly, I mean, we've stayed, for the most part, we've stayed close into the 80s, but we're just working through it, and we've been implementing some different strategies at school as far as like rewards or attendance challenges. We've been posting data, and then also just trying to get to the heart of why students aren't here. And then we have our AIAN students as well.
So they included in this data as well, and then you just put them out.
Yes.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
What are AI and
American Indian, Alaskan Native.
Thank you. Sorry.
Sorry, Jamie.
No, that's fine. You go for it. Also, I just thought I would share with you how many of our high school classes students can earn college credit in. And so we've got, these are how many students are enrolled semester 1, semester 2, and areas that they can earn college credit for the year. So, whoops. So we had chemistry, animal science, through the ag department, and then college US history. And then we have college algebra, and then that's only semester 1, and then that moves to trigonometry for semester 2, and then we have calculus for math. And then our writing 121 and 122. So we have several opportunities for students to earn college credit. And then we also had Intro to Ed, and I think we just forgot to look that one up because that was our very first time offering it this fall, but we'll be continuing to offer that next year through Schmeketa. Yes.
Students that take 100 and 200 level Chinook will get.
Oh, that's right. Yep,
so they
that's
can
true.
graduate
Yes.
with up to 24 credits, and
That's
there are
right.
2 years of language already done before they
Perfect.
start.
Yes, thank you for that. Master scheduling, we have just the process, like Roy said, we're starting that process, but it's actually a very, people think of the master schedule as the actual schedule itself, but it is a huge upfront work that makes a difference to what the actual schedule looks like. So it's very important that we spend a lot of time upfront before we actually build the schedule. So for about over the course of 3 to 4 weeks, I met with all of our teachers, and some cases teams where they teach the same thing, in other cases individually. And we just looked at our course offerings for 25-26, and we looked at our numbers for incoming next year. Our numbers are gonna be lower, 6 through 12, and that does create some opportunities for some of the classes, some of the teachers to offer some additional electives within like subject area classes, which is exciting in that respect, because there's just more diversity of what we can offer. And so that's something we're really trying to do, is trying to meet the needs of the wide range of students. We had, and I'll show you a slide, or it's in the packet, but a couple students came and met with me about a month and a half ago, and they wanted to look at some clubs that they could offer, we could look at offering after school that were maybe representative of things that they're interested in, but not what we don't offer them as classes. And so we created a Google form. Actually, they created it, and then they showed it to me, and we worked on it together. And then we administered it to all of our 8th through 12th graders, just to find out what they would be interested in, and to give us some ideas of, as we're thinking of classes that we might offer, or if teachers have a skill that they would like to share. So that was really cool. So we met, and then based off of that, we had some classes that teachers said, hey, if I had an extra section or two, these are some things I would like to teach. They wrote up some descriptions, and then what we did today actually is we had a move up day. In the past, we write up the descriptions, and we still have those, and we will give those to students when we forecast so they can look at what the classes are. But what we have found is that students kind of have 3 factors in which they choose a class. Number 1 is usually if their friends are taking it. Number 2 is the enthusiasm of the teacher teaching the class that makes them go, hey, I wouldn't have normally looked at that, but that looks like fun, and you sound like you would be a fun teacher to take. And then number 3 is like just that individualized, I want to take that class because it sounds fun to me. And so, or it sounds interesting to me. And so what we decided was we wanted to offer, we've been giving students the handouts with the written paragraph, and not so sure everyone is really like capturing the essence of what some of these classes are. So we decided to capture that teacher spirit of it. And so today we had students broken into grade levels in classrooms, and they stayed in the classrooms, and then the teachers that have the electives rotated, and they had about 15 minutes per section. We had 10 sessions. Some teachers were buddied up with another teacher because between the 2 of them, they could talk about things for that amount of time. The students had in front of them their forecasting sheet that they'll have this week when they forecast, so that they could take notes. If they heard something that they liked, they could mark it just as information. And basically opportunity for questions. And we could tailor some of our discussions with kids based on whether they were incoming freshmen or they were incoming 12th graders. Because in some cases, there's classes that aren't offered to our incoming freshmen. So we were able to just talk about some freshman things and promote like our Camp 29 that we'll have in August. So I think it was really successful. It was fast moving for the teachers. I think some of the students, they were in the same room for quite some time, but it was way easier than trying to move them and losing them and having them, go off to the bathrooms and stuff. So we were able to get through that. And then this week, our counselor will go into the classrooms and talk more. The students had a video today that they could see that talked about this process and what they were being asked to do. And so essentially when they forecast, they will get their 4-year grad plan that Mrs. Nelson, our counselor, has created for each student. And it shows what they've taken, what they've earned, what they're currently in. It's a different color. And then the areas of classes that they still need, so that they can see the whole picture in just a really small frame. And then basically that will help them as they make their decisions. And then they will make their choices for electives that they want based on what they heard today. Not all electives that were shared today will make the cut because we offered more than what we have staffing for, but we just wanted to get an idea of where the interests were. And then And then what we do is from there, we take that information, we put it into the system, and then it will run us what we call a conflict matrix. And also it will give us course sections. So for one class, it'll say for example, manufacturing, it would say there's 25 kids that want to take manufacturing, or there's 75 kids that want to take a class. And so then from there, we determine how many sections we can offer of that. So if we were saying 20 kids per section or 25 kids, then we'd break it and see if we have the staffing for that. And then we run a course conflict matrix, and then from there we begin to do all the preparation to build the actual schedule. And teachers know my office wall looks really interesting for that time. It's Post-it notes and grids and stuff, but it's actually really exciting and fun to do. But basically the idea behind that is, and especially of a school this size, when you offer a class, say one time, that's called a singleton. And you don't want to put two singletons at the same time if there's kids that want both. And that's what the conflict matrix tells us, is you've got, 12 kids or 20 kids in band, and then we're offering an animation class, and we were going to put them at the same period, but 7 of those kids want band and animation. So we wouldn't offer that, because that means 7 kids are going to have to make a choice, and we try to minimize that as much as possible. So we build our master schedule based off of, there's quite a process that you go through to make that happen and make sure we have enough seats every period for all of our freshmen, sophomore, juniors, and seniors. And then once the schedule is built in about a month, Ms. Nelson will go back into the classes, and then they will actually have the master schedule in front of them, and then they will actually get to choose their classes. So even with the forecasting this week and the move up day, everything is still a little fluid. They're not saying in stone, this is what I'm gonna do. And when they get ready to make their classes, they might find that, shoot, I really wanted to take Bulldog Brew, the coffee shop class, but it's just not gonna work in my schedule, so I'm gonna choose my second choice would have been this for like an elective. And so they'll get to kind of make those choices, which I find very powerful, because by looking at the schedule, they get to understand that you can't just take anything anytime. Like, they have to understand the process of the schedule, and then when there's a time to make a decision, it's their decision, not us just saying, well, let's just put this one here and this one here, not knowing what it is they really, really want if they had to weigh it. And then after they build their schedule, then Mrs. Nelson will take these back to her office, and then she will input each schedule. But before she does that, she will check it against their credit earning document to make sure that they have everything that they're supposed to have for that particular grade level, to make sure that something didn't get missed. And if that's the case, then we make those adjustments in the time. And so then from there, we balance, we get the schedules in the system, and then we balance classroom loads to make sure that we have fairly balanced classrooms, and then we get to the point of printing schedules. And so those usually that doesn't usually happen until this summer, but then students will be able to access them prior to school. So that's just the process, but it's about a 3+ month process. But if you put the time in, then when it's time to make schedules, it's not crazy. You're not changing a bunch of stuff, and we're not finding that kids can't get what they want if you put in the time up front. Then I just wanted to show you, I showed this last month, but this was the interviews that Scott Nelson was doing with our seniors. I believe we have had all of them. If not, there might be just a couple stragglers that have not had the one-on-one meeting. But out of that, these are the Chemeketa Community College CTE pathways that Mike was even talking about, just our connection with Chemeketa right now. And we have this RPED grant that is helping our rural students get access to college free and with support. So these are the areas of the CTE pathways that Chemeketa offers, and the number next to them is how many of our students are showing interest in those particular pathways. So April, I think it's the 28th, and then the following Monday after that, it's May something, I'm not exactly sure, but May 6th, two ladies from Chemeketa are coming out, and they're going to meet with these students one-on-one that have made that have shown interest, and they will sit down with them and they will talk about the programs with them. They will show them online what they look like. They will answer questions, and then right there they will, if the students are interested, they will help them enroll with Shemeketa right there online. And then there are some courses they can even start taking this summer for free if they want to. There's some courses that are like entry-level courses for all of the programs. And so they will be able to just let them know and kind of give them that one-on-one attention as well. So I'm excited about this because I think that's a lot of students that could potentially find access to one of these programs. And then this was just our with more numbers and more kids, with talking with more of those interviews. These are just some of the numbers that we found. But we do have, between trade school, community college, and four-year college, we have a good number of students that are looking at that, which that was good. Less uncertain at this time, so that's a positive that they're thinking about that. This was just that survey I told you about that the students did about the classes that they would be interested in. And this is funny, I did this when I very first came to Willamina right before COVID. Went into classrooms and we did some empathy data gathering with students. And the number one class that came out that students wanted was culinary. And so 5 years later, it's the number one class that's still showing up. So it's definitely something that students are interested in. And we are floating a food science / culinary class that we could do kind of as a pilot with some students before maybe we can actually have a commercial kitchen that we could maybe through our bond project that we could have for students. But for right now, we're gonna be able to do that. And then this just helped. We floated a coding class, a robotics class. I'm trying to see if there was anything else on here. We have a sociology class. There was psychology up here. We have a graphic design class that is out there being forecasted for. So those were some of the courses that off of here that we were able to float with students because we had staff that was willing to put that out there. And then I'm going to meet with the girls that are working on this with me, and we're going to talk about potentially ways to start some clubs for students. And these are just some highlights. Lots of stuff coming up in the spring. Outdoor school, kids leave tomorrow.
That's on the coast, right?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Lincoln City and back in the hill.
Yes.
Might have to check on.
Easy bus turnaround, right? No, I'm kidding.
Check your line, that's done.
So are there any questions?
I have questions
Mhm.
on the scheduling. At what point is there encouragement for the students to talk to their families and their parents about classes or the electives that they have a choice to choose from?
So during the forecasting next week, when they fill out their sheet, that would be the time that Ms. Nelson would encourage them. They probably would we're encouraging them to take a picture of their forecasting sheet so that they can take it home and show their parents, like, these are the classes that I can choose from, and so that would be a time that that they could talk with you and see if there's something that a parent might want to encourage their student to try. And then again, when they build their schedule, that would be another thing. Like, this is kind of what I came up with and to be able to explain, this is why.
So
Because
we
the
should
way it
parents
fits
square
in the
out,
schedule.
like, hey, ask your kid, high schooler about their.
Yeah, because I mean,
Otherwise,
we'd
like a
have
sign
no clue.
off, like, hey, you
Sure.
could have a parent sign off just as.
Well, I was gonna say, old school.
Yeah.
We used to say, yeah, my parents have reviewed this and
Mhm.
they're in support, or just beat me.
You know, as a parent, I don't want to dictate what they're taking, but I sure would like to.
Would
Have the
have an
conversation.
idea.
Yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely. We talked about that in our master schedule meeting about, kind of you and I have talked about that, about the desire to have them share that with their parents so that they can. But I think sending a parent square is a great idea, just so that people know what to look, like, tell me
But
about
it's
this.
time.
Yeah, like, tell me about
Well,
your.
Depending on how much progress we can make here towards the grand goal of having those family kind of style meetings, that would be the obvious choice. In the
Right.
spring is like setting your schedule for the next
Yeah.
year, and let's talk about it. Has your goal changed? Where, it's kind of all this information we're gathering gives us some great intel on these kiddos.
We were gonna try during conferences last week. We were gonna try to do, we just weren't ready. Like, it just wasn't, and we still have it penciled in, the May 8th, is that the May 8th one that we have the evening conference? We still have it penciled in that we might try to do some sort of open, kind of, it's gonna depend on where we have the process, but like where parents could come with their students and make their schedules like together, once the master schedule is built. I just don't know if it'll be built by then. That's the trick. But we have it penciled in as a possibility, but I don't wanna say it too loud because we don't know. But we're trying.
Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Okay. That was it, right, Sarah? You didn't,
I'm good this month. I've got mine.
I thought so, just wanted to check.
Thank you.
Okay, Angie?
Okay, let's see, what have we been up to? So, big news, we did open our new building. So the new, early care building, 26,000 square feet, 12 classrooms. It's a birth to 5 care center. So right now, 6 classrooms are full of regular programming. 1 classroom is being used for aftercare. We'll be adding a class, at least 1 class in the fall. And just obviously we'll work over the years to fill that building. But we are very excited. Students came to school for the first time in that building on March 31st. So it's been a year-long design to build project, and Triplet Woman did a really nice job. So we will be doing a grand opening for that, I think, in June. So kind of be watching for that date, or I'll let everyone know. Youth education, so our school-aged kids, the Shawash Ilahi School's been plugging along as they usually do. They have a language retreat coming up in June, and lots of family and community engagements going on. They do a lot of activities within the school. The Leprechauns came to visit on St. Patrick's Day, which is a big hit with the kids. They're doing a competition to name the new police dog, right?
We made suggestions for it.
Yes.
They went with Kish Kish, which is to chase.
So they had pictures of the dog, and we're coming up with, as you can imagine, a big long list of suggestions, and narrowed that down. But they've been busy, and we'll be working to wrap up their school year for all but the preschoolers. The preschoolers go year round, so they'll be in school through August. In terms of our youth education services, they have been starting to plan their field trips and events for the summer. Also, we had a spring break camp for our 6th through 12th grade youth that is always big, popular, and the kids really seem to enjoy it. So again, it was well attended, and we had on-site programming for our K-5 students during spring break week as well, and they had a couple field trips and some events on campus. We'll be having an honor recognition event for all the graduates in June as well. So June's going to be a big month for celebrations. We also launched and announced our internships for our summer youth internships. So the tribe hires 60 tribal members, youth, to work in various departments and programs around the tribe. So that has launched, and those positions are out on the employment website. They go through the whole employment process of submitting a job application and an interview and all the things to get selected for those.
Angela, those typically all get filled?
Yes, absolutely. We bumped it to 60 because we couldn't, yeah. Also launching our K-5 and 6th through 12th grade activities for the summer. So we offer a 9-week, 4-day-a-week program, full days, for K-5 youth. So all that registration will be launching, and we serve 80 kids in the K-5 program and roughly 20 kids. So bike camps, all that stuff is in early planning phases. Also, she happens to be my niece, so I'm just going to throw that out there. But Bailey Lena went last week to the state capitol and testified in front of the Ways and Means Committee, the Education Subcommittee, in support of the Oregon Tribal Student Grant, which is a grant that we had funding for this last biennium, which funds tribal member any Oregon tribal member attending an Oregon school, and they receive tuition and living expenses. So a very large grant that we're hoping to have funded again. So the Higher Education Coordinating Commission is who handles all of that funding. And their budget was up in front of Ways and Means. And so Bailey went and testified at the Capitol. So there is a link if anybody's interested in watching her give her little spiel. She was also there with her sister and my son, because he's a master's program. Her sister Darian is just completing her bachelor's, both Willamina alumni, and then Bailey will be a new student next year, so kind of a wide perspective for that. But if anybody wants to support that grant or write your legislators, let me know. I have information about who to submit written testimony and things for. So, great program, and I'm pretty confident, feeling like it's going to get funded again. Speaking of higher education, our numbers are skyrocketing, a lot of it due to the Oregon Tribal Student Grant. We have roughly 150 students, tribal member students, attending colleges all throughout the country, the vast majority of those here in Oregon. In fact, tribal members from out of state are attending Oregon State's e-campus because they can access the Oregon Tribal Grants to do that. So it's also funneling some money from out of state back into Oregon, so that's good. Library's been very busy with events, guest speakers and so on. And then we had our carnival. So I want to say thank you. I know we had some staff that came out and hung out with us at the carnival. And so that's kind of been our last month. Yeah, busy. As always, this time of year, everywhere.
Thank you. Last up, our student report.
So, like Mr. Gass said earlier, softball and track have been doing great. Baseball and softball both had a game today. Baseball was against Blanchette, I'm pretty sure, and softball won against NEM. So congratulations to you guys did great. Track's also been doing really great. Their next meet is going to be on Thursday, and then they're also getting ready to set up for districts, which will be roughly around 6 weeks. With graduation rolling around, seniors and parents are really trying to get on fundraising for skip trip and grad night. So there have been and are continuing to be a few fundraisers going on. They just had the senior grad night ham bingo and bake sale fundraiser. That was on Saturday, and that was just to help raise money for the grad night. We are also, parents of seniors are really encouraged to help participate because we don't have a lot of parents right now, so it's sort of the same few handfuls of people that are trying to get this trip funded and planned and everything, so parents are encouraged to help out with that. And also, we have a skip trip fundraiser with our seniors, and this fundraiser is a raffle for a ribbon skirt, earrings, and a necklace made by our Indigenous Power Hour class. And it's made by students, all by students. There also may be a child-size ribbon skirt, but we might just be selling that. We might not be raffling that. Mr. Gass knows we're really good at making ribbon skirts.
I got a skirt in production, right, for my wife.
We're really good at what we do. So anyone who wants to try and get into the raffle, anything like that, it helps for skip trips. So it's exciting that we get to help out in our Indigenous Power Hour class. That's always really fun. And
Those skirts come with a certificate of authenticity.
Yes, 100%.
1-1.
Of course. And also, our class has officially started Senior Assassin. We started that Friday, and not even 5 days in, I've heard many betrayals, and I've heard many stories and babies. It's already pretty intense, but hopefully we'll act better than last year's. Last Thursday, I believe, students went to a college and career fair in Amity. I believe that was, they got out of school and I don't remember much about it, but yeah.
They went in the morning and,
right.
Yeah, and what we're trying to do is do more like regional things. So Dayton did theirs for a couple years, and then we did one last year for us. But then they're starting to invite, and that got moved to Amity. So they have it for their school, and then they invite, the high schools to come at certain times so that while they have all the stuff out.
So the Hall of Fame and Sports auction, that was originally gonna be this month. I just heard that it's going to be rescheduled, so it's actually gonna be May 17th, if I've heard correctly. They are looking for donations to help with the sports auction. I put down contacts. I know some people actually have copies of my report this time. There are a few emails and phone numbers if anybody is interested in helping with donations for the auction. And we also have another blood drive coming up. That'll be on April 23rd from 9 to 2:30. That'll be in our middle school gym. Anybody's welcome. I have contacts and phone numbers, websites for if anybody is interested in setting up an appointment. That'll be hosted and planned by Mrs. Anderson's health class, I believe. So that'll be going on for most of the day on next Wednesday. Is that next Wednesday? I think that's next Wednesday.
Yeah.
We also have Dornbecker Week this week. It just started. Dornbecker Week is where students and staff in the community try to raise as much money for the Dornbecker Children's Hospital as possible through games and challenges and all sorts of events. We had our kickoff assembly last Thursday, and we kicked off our penny war, which is usually very big amongst students and teachers because they get very competitive. We'll have assemblies every day, obviously not today because we had our move-in day, but we have assemblies planned just about every day and dress-up days. Tomorrow is going to be sort of just a game day. Wednesday is Pie a Teacher Day. It might also be changed to Cupcake a Teacher. And then,
That's no fun.
well, we had feedback. Thursday is our student auction. It's also open to teachers. I know Mrs. Overfield is planning on offering a fettuccine Alfredo meal with a student and 5 of their friends at the auction. So we're trying to get as many students and teachers as possible to come up and offer some sort of service. You know, it all goes to Dornbecker. And then Friday, we have our Dog Jams talent show. That will be, oh gosh, what period is that? I think 6th period? 6th period. And we actually have prizes and 2 categories this year, which is a little different than we've done it the last few years. We have our live talent, which is singing or dancing or things we've usually done. There's also going to be a lip sync competition, which I think could be fun and very silly. And there will be 2 $50 prizes for the winners. So we're really trying to get people to come in. I believe it's $5 to participate and $1 to watch. So if you want to come see students be silly, Dog Jams is pretty fun. If anyone is interested in helping donate to the Dornbecker Fund or the Dornbecker fundraisers outside of the events that we have going on, Mrs. Overfield is probably a good person to contact. I have her email down. Other than that, we have Smile had their challenge last week. That was the 10th and the 11th.
I forgot dates.
Sometime last week. And one of our students, Emma Fretwell, was on our gold medal team. So congratulations to her. We're all very proud of her. And we also have our math club students, a handful, going to participate in the Chemeketa Regional Math Contest, which will be this Friday on the 18th. So we're hoping that they do very well. The last thing I have, I'm actually going to open the floor to FFA Officer Rebecca Neese, because she probably knows more about it than I do.
I'm gonna come look at your computer.
You can come look at my computer.
Okay. That's a lot of information. All right. So, hi everybody. For those of you who don't know me, I am Rebecca Neese of the Willamina FFA chapter. I am currently serving as our chapter's reporter, and I'm also serving as the Lower Willamina District Secretary. For those of you who don't know what FFA is, it stands for Future Farmers of America. Our main priority is getting kids to know that agriculture is a big part of your life. But we also do lots of other things. We have some fun events, like we do district volleyball. We also do public speaking events. Like I personally competed in sophomore public speaking, where you write a speech and you present it in front of judges. Pretty simple. We have all sorts of stuff. Our biggest thing is fair. So people will take an animal, a market animal, and they'll raise it from young and they'll have it for a few months. Usually our chapter is really big on hogs and lambs. So they'll raise this animal for a few months and then they'll bring it to fair and they'll show the animal to the best of their ability and then a judge will determine where it goes on the rankings throughout all of the animals of that species in the district. I am big on that because fair is definitely our biggest part of our FFA chapter. So now to get to this part. We've been very active this spring. We had students compete and do well in a variety of FFA career development events, also known as CDEs. We had teams for Parley Pro and Conduct of Chapter meetings. They're designed by Robert's Rules of Order. So basically these teams are, Conduct of Chapter meetings has 7 kids, and they have opening and closing ceremonies. So they memorize a script and they have to repeat it word for word and as smoothly as possible at the beginning and end of their meetings. And then they have, what's the allotted? About 13 minutes to complete their opening and closing ceremonies. And then they have to debate and they use Robert's Rules of Order as like in your meeting now when you pass the votes, yada yada. Parley Pro is the same thing. It's called Parliamentary Procedures. They don't do the opening and closing ceremonies, but they have about 11 minutes to complete their entire sequence of stuff. Sorry, I'm dragging this out. Just go, okay. Both teams earned 3rd place at districts this year. All right, we had speakers that competed at district public speaking events. So like I said, I did sophomore public speaking. I got 1st place at districts and I moved and I moved on to sectionals and I got 4th at sectionals. We had some kids compete in what's called the FFA Creed by E.M. Tiffany. It's 5 paragraphs about agriculture. You memorize it, you repeat it as close to word for word as you can, and then at the end you get asked questions about agriculture and what you do, how this speech relates to your life. And we had a student, Elizabeth Neese. She got she got 2nd place at districts, and she got fourth place at sectionals. Okay. We have our annual FFA banquet scheduled for May 3rd at 5:30, located in the cafeteria. We're going to be having a potato bar with all sorts of toppings. I'm really excited. And I believe we'll be doing a dessert dash, correct? Yeah. So basically you just pay money for desserts. I'm not really technical on that part. But we will be introducing our newly slated FFA officers, president through Sentinel. And this year we've made a change. We're going to be having junior officers now. We have selected 3 junior officers, a 7th grader, an 8th grader, and a freshman. The freshman will also be serving on our high school officer team. She will be a dual member, but you can come to the banquet and watch our inductees get inducted into their position and support our chapter and listen to all the stuff we do throughout the year if you want to hear us spew about more of this stuff. Okay. Oh, and we will be retiring our past officers. And we will have a senior do a speech and a slideshow. Okay. Our horticulture class, which a lot of you may know, we do some, it's like planting. We grow a lot of flowers in our greenhouse. And we'll be having our annual Mother's Day Weekend Plant Sale May 9th and 10th. So if you want to come buy some flowers for your wife or your mom, or you can just come by and buy some pretty flowers. I mean, I've bought pretty flowers for myself before, so. All right, a group of high school students, that's not FFA actually, never mind. Okay, you're welcome.
Any questions for me or?
Wait, I do have a couple things. Yes, I do. Sorry, dragging this out even more, sorry. So You already know about our banquet. The sports auction on May 17th. As she stated previously, we are going to be accepting donations for the silent auction going on that day. Part of the revenue, or is it all the revenue from the auction?
Some of the silent auction.
Some of the silent auction profit will be used towards our FFA National Convention. So this is something that happens in America every year around the end of end of October. Yes, I knew that. Our chapter tries to go every other year, and we're trying to get a lot of fundraisers, and this auction is definitely going to help us be able to go. We have a lot of kids who are very qualified. Stop talking, please. Support us for National Convention. Thanks, Roy. Okay.
I get that once in a while, it's like, okay, covered it all.
Okay, I have two more things, okay? Two more.
30 seconds.
All right, so Oregon District Officer Training. I'll make this quick because I was the only one that attended. So this last Thursday after school, I left and I went to Aldergate Camp. It's like 30 minutes outside Dallas. And I was with all sorts of kids that are my age in FFA around Oregon, who are district officers in, well, their districts. And I discussed with them about what we can do in Oregon to help grow the FFA. And I had the chance to meet with a bunch of executive boards in Oregon who talk about the funding and legislative, what are it called? The things that the Capitol talks about.
About the bills?
Yes, the bills. They discussed the bills with us, and it was a very good learning opportunity, and I am very excited. I really hope I can attend next year. I'm just gonna make it quick, but I learned a lot about how to run a room in leadership when I'm teaching classes about FFA. So at our district leadership camp this year, I can teach my classes and be as effective as teaching about agriculture as I can. So this was a great opportunity, and I'm so glad that I was able to go. Okay, last thing. Something that our chapter is very heavily involved in is Food for All. I'm sure Roy talks about it a lot, probably.
Fourth time of the year. Great.
Yeah. So I'll just be quick at that since we don't get attendees very often. Food for All is where we partner with other schools in our district and even across Oregon, such as Perrydale FFA, they're very heavily involved. And we talk to local farmers and produce businesses, and we get them to donate tons and tons of food. We take these, we bring them to our schools, and we package them up. We put about like 3 potatoes in a bag or something like that. And then we put them in boxes, and then we bring them to food banks. We bring some to the VFW here in Willamina, and we bring some as far as Salvation Army. We've gone to the coast, Lincoln City, and dropped some off in their locations up there. And, okay, Roy, come on. But basically this food helps a lot of families, and I'm very, very proud that Willamina FFA is able to help this cause, and help people get fed. Jeez. I get the talking from Roy, I promise. Anyways.
Might get the walking.
I might.
Right home.
I might. Okay. Sorry, we don't get a chance to come out and talk like this very often, so I have to cover everything as much as I can.
Don't apologize, you take your time.
Thank you.
Yeah. So, in conclusion, I'm very excited for what next year has to offer for the FFA. I hope we can start coming to these a lot more often. And talking to you guys, although our chapters, a lot of us are pretty busy. Oh my gosh, Roy, okay, thank you guys. I will love him.
I've been given this several times, so.
These are my keeper.
It does run in the family.
Good job. Okay, next up we have audience time. So citizen input on non-agenda items shall be 3 minutes per person and 30 minutes per topic. or item. Citizen input on agenda items will occur after board discussion and before a vote. Speakers may provide objective comments or criticism of district operations and programs. For complaints about individuals, the district has a board policy and complaint process, so please contact the district office for guidance on filing a complaint. Is there anyone from the audience that filled out a card, needs to share? Okay. Moving on, reports and discussion, integrated guidance update.
Nope, we're gonna submit this week and hopefully this will drop off as a standing item.
Okay, cool. Under decision items, we have board meeting calendar 2025 to 2026.
And school calendar, right?
Yeah, so
sorry,
there's a
sorry.
couple of dates that also, the board calendar is designed just to kind of follow suit what we normally do with our meetings following on Mondays, the second Monday of the month. However, October 13th, there is a parent-teacher conference that day, middle school, high school only. Willamina Elementary School will be in session. I just want you to be aware of that as you look at if you want to set that date still for that Monday. Also on November, the Monday would be the 10th, and that is also a district-wide parent-teacher conference day. There's no school that day, and there's no school the next day, as that is a holiday. So just be aware of that as we look at the school board calendar and see if you want to adjust those dates. If you do, like November, we could go out one more week, which we did this last November.
So it'd be like the 17th.
Yeah.
Tandy having both calendars not side by side.
Yeah, and then the 13th, that's just so you can be aware, it might be, conflict for parents, I'm not sure.
I move to adopt the school calendar for 2025, 2026.
Second.
Who's second?
David.
Okay, all those in favor of adopting the school calendar for 2025, 2026, signify by saying aye.
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 All those opposed? Motion is passed. Is there any thoughts or comments about the board meeting calendar?
Just bump them to that next Monday.
If you want to, we can still adopt the calendar, just we'll change the date so you can adopt it as amended. And I'll change the date.
No?
No, isn't that what you just said?
He recommended it,
Yeah.
but
No, I'm just.
I mean, you don't have to, but if you want to change the dates, then we could
We don't
change them and then just adopt it
There's
as
no school
amended.
for administrators either. So, is
No
there a
more
problem
change.
with popping it to the 17th?
On November.
Yes.
I would be here.
It's district-wide parent-teacher conference.
Well, admin should
So we'll
still
be
be
here.
on campus, right?
On Monday?
Yeah.
Conferences?
Maybe still.
Oh, the 10th, yeah.
I think that I fell there last year.
Yeah, we can keep them.
We can keep them, and then if we decide later we need to bump it, we can change it.
the month.
The other thing I would ask the board to entertain is our start time, 7 o'clock, a little late, or do we like an earlier start, so we get out of here earlier?
I think we'll visit that in
I'd like an
July
earlier start overall.
when we have
Yeah,
other board members. Yeah,
yeah.
we'll visit that in July when we have other board members.
so just something to think about.
I move to adopt the board meeting calendar for 2025, 2026 as presented.
I'll second that.
All those in favor of adopting the board meeting calendar for 2025, 2026, signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Aye.
All those
I
opposed?
get why you pay attention.
Motion is passed. Okay, next up, we have a resolution 242503.
So one of the things we're trying to move to is individual procurement cards, or like a purchasing card. Operates like a credit card, but right now, we send coaches on the road and different things like that with trying to prepay as much as we can. Sometimes they get hung up and typically, so we would be strategic, we set limits on them. Obviously, nobody can head out and do big purchases without authorization. And we can restrict what they can be spent on, like, can only be spent on hotel room, for a coach, fuel. You can shut off, no alcohol, so it's pretty specific on what you could, there's a whole menu of different things you can. So it allows us to create some flexibility. I've convinced Lisa to try it.
So are these like individual cards that can just go out with individuals then? It's not like a credit card under one person's name, it's whoever signs out
They
for
would
it
be
for that
coming
night.
and checking them out. Now we'd
Yeah.
be setting the limit and what it can be spent on each time.
Oh, so you can adjust it each time? Oh.
That would cut down on like reimbursements and all that.
Exactly.
So they have to submit a purchase request.
Yeah, we like them to use purchase orders as much as we can, but sometimes when you're going to Costco or somewhere, then
Athletics is a big one. Our coaches are putting it on their own pocket and then seeking a reimbursement. And we need to cut back on that.
That's why
Well,
the
some of
coaches
those-
say,
Some of those are getting kickback mileage.
Yeah, and that's a whole ethics issue as well. So
Does the district pay for meals for students when they are out, like for athletes?
if it's a district or state event, I believe they do.
Or depending on how far they travel.
I don't know, that's reimbursable from this. I don't wanna say
State,
no.
only state, I don't think.
I think it's just state,
It's
when they're in a state competition, yeah. Cause they're staying overnight or they're far away from, and they're traveling as a team, and so anything overnight, I think we're required to feed them.
one of the things I would like to see out of our new athletic director is a more concerted fundraising plan. So like, if you go to a district competition, you get, $15 a kid, for dinner, and, it's like a per diem almost kind of thought. Cause right now it seems like it's kind of every man for himself, depending on.
It is, I was asking because I know students are responsible, I'm pretty sure students are responsible for paying for meals when they go.
Yeah.
And coaches are footing those bills for students that don't, they're not gonna watch the kids sit and watch
Right.
everybody else eat, so
Right.
coaches are footing the
All
bills
the
for
time.
students that don't have money. And that, I'm not bringing it up because I've heard complaints, I just know it happens.
Sure.
Because it just has
Absolutely.
for a long
So,
time, and
no,
so
I
if it
think
could
it's a
be,
great topic for our I think as we revamp and kind of rethink our fundraising around athletics, those kind of programs, that's a great story to tell.
and I think it'd be a good use of dollars, even before equipment and things like that.
As long as they're not taking that money and going over here and I want to get this, use it for what it's intended for.
Well, I think it would have to be
And that-
something like a purchase
yeah.
order. 'cause
yeah, and they
many
still have to
students-
submit receipts.
And you have to allocate per diem, so they're limited to a certain dollar amount per student. And so I think
And
that's the
Mr.
safeguard.
Gaskin backed me up on this, when if they're not following the receipt procedures, they don't get a card checked out the next time. They lose a privilege.
I'll move to approve resolution 24-2503, authorizing the issuance of procurement cards to purchase goods and services.
Second.
Who was that?
Can I ask a question?
I have a question.
Is that just sports or is it like TJ and FFA and, because there's other people besides coaches that do the same thing?
I think it's very.
No, I think
Right.
the theory behind them is whatever your budget is kind of your limit, within reason.
Yeah.
Your school budget, not like your grant funded budget. TJ, Harbor Freight, here we go. No, but I think, what it does is the theory is, it puts responsibility at the person spending the dollars. To your point, Dan's point, it's like, we need to make sure we're doing it right. We don't want abuse of it, and if you are, then I shut you off, it's a click. So, I've done that, I've had a couple principals that weren't really good at, turning their receipts in, and they
And you're
ruled
still
school.
able to see all the charges, right? Like you could see where it was spent, how
Yeah.
much exactly.
Yeah, there's like an online
Easy to
portal.
monitor.
Once in a while, you
Cut
get
'em off.
the mess up at the gas pump where somebody puts the district card in, you know, and it's like, yeah, there's a process, you pay it back. And
Well, I think it also, it creates, like, you have to put thought into these trips, when, like, create a plan, and what is that budget for that plan, where are you gonna be going? It forces organization in some
Yeah.
sense too.
No, I mean, I don't know how many times even a school official, pass gets closed due to snow and I'm putting hotel rooms on my personal card just to make sure kids have a place to go until highway opens. So, you know, just as one more mechanism we have to support our coaches and staff.
Okay, all those in favor of approving resolution 24-2503, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? Motion is passed. Okay, under future agenda items, we have executive session, superintendent evaluation in May.
Yeah, did you guys want to start that at 6 or 6:30? Yeah, I know, yeah.
What is it, right before the regular?
It'll be right before regular session.
What day is it?
That is, our next meeting.
We're gonna move that to Tuesday or?
No, that starts with the budget.
I will.
Okay.
Just superintendent.
I look through it, like, whatever works for
They need it now. Yeah, tell me about
you. That's on the help, we
Yeah,
can help
right.
that.
My birthday's May 7th.
I got
Go
you
for
for
it.
that.
6 or 6:30?
6.
It's the boy named Dave. May 7th.
And we're gonna have snacks or something in between the time?
If you would like, we can arrange
He's
that.
complaining he didn't have a cookie today.
Okay, anything else? Meeting of the Willamina School Board is hereby adjourned.
See, and I'm